Hello, welcome pen friends. It is now July 10th and my red project with red inks is well underway. So I'm coming on here to do a flip through in my ink journal, but I wanted to do a quick intro first and just talk a little bit about the red inks. I was going to show you, Coco's here with me. He's taking kind of a little sit down, a little nap. So I don't know how this is going to go, but we'll see. Because he gets so interested. He's already knocked over all my little red bottles that I had back there. So anyway, we'll give it a try. But so every morning I ink up my Lamy Vista with a different red ink. And I'm just calling it a summer inksploration because every month I'm going to do a different color. And for July it's red, but it's also a little bit into the pinks and magentas and maroons and reds. You know, it's a mixture because I really have a lot of little samples I'd really like to test out and work with. And so that's what I'm doing. And I've already done a video to show which ones and everything. But I'll link that for you. Red is a color that has kind of evolved with me in fountain pens. I used to just think of it as editing and marking up and correcting things. I didn't really think of red as a color to write with, but now, more and more, there are just so many pretty ones that have really grown on me. And I'll show you when we get to the other end there, the pen desk. I'll show you what I have already in bottled inks, because I do have some in small bottles and a couple of large bottles of red ink. And I even have one that it was a flop. But this has really been interesting to do the intense, you know, one color a day, inking up. And I can tell when I love an ink because I don't want to clean the pen, but I don't have another one just exactly like it. So it's not as if I'm going to leave it behind. I'm going to go ahead. If there's some left in the converter, I put it back in the little ink sample vial, and I do move on, you know, but it's hard to clean the pen out when I really like the ink. So that tells me a lot. And then there's times when I'm just ready to clean it out as soon as the tests are done, and I'll say, no, that was not for me. And that doesn't happen very often, but it did happen once in this 10 days. So I don't want to, without any further ado, let's go ahead and move over to the pen desk. That's the end of the camera I'm more comfortable on, but I did just want to talk to you real briefly before and maybe after. We'll see how this goes with this splicing videos together. So we'll see you on the other side. There, okay, we're over at my pen desk, and Coco has retired for his nap into the bedroom. So, because he decided he liked this pad and wanted to sleep here, but that won't allow me to do the video. So, okay, before we start on the 10 inks that I'm covering, these are the only two that are part of this 31 days that I have the little bottles of. The rest are all samples. And then these are 3 that I actually have bottled in bottled form. So I've got the KWZ Thief's Red, which is very much like a traditional red, like a kindergarten red. And then the Kaveco Ruby Red in bottled ink. And it's deeper, almost maroon, and our camera is not going to always pick up the right shading, but that's that one. And then Sailor Grenade, which was a gift from a pen friend, which is kind of a maroon with a heavy gold sheen on it. It was part of one of my other 30 inks 30 days where I just fell for that ink. So those are those 3. So as you can see, this project is not about me finding more red ink. It's just testing all the samples I have and becoming familiar with them. And all of the rest of them are not small bottles. They're actually just samples. So let's get into the ink journal. This is the 68 GSM Chamoy River Bond Travel Gear journal, where I've just got it as my little chart. And I did it a little different this time because last month I just kind of colored it in, and it was beautiful, the blue inks. They're stunning. But then I had to do a chart with the names of the inks, and I didn't like that as much. So I just went back to my older format for this one, so that each day I just put in the little postage stamp size coloring, and I can still write in the ink manufacturer and name, and I really like that better. But this gives us a really good glimpse. There were quite a few deep kind of almost maroon inks, and then we got up here into the Troublemaker, the last one, and wow, it just was so bright. It looks pink, it looks orange, it looks all kinds of, that ink is really interesting, by the way. It just, yeah, it does a lot of different things. So let's dive right into the ink journal. And this is the Lockbee A5 size booklet type, and it's 68 GSM Tomoe River. And we were in it last month when I did the blue inks, so you're familiar, I'm sure. And here we go. So day one was Pure Pens Cadwaladr. And it is just gorgeous. I've got them all on tiles too, so we'll put that there. But this was a sample from Pen Friend AW, and it is available at Pure Pens in the UK. So, gosh, this was a beautiful ink, just beautiful. So pretty, and the flow was great. I could have written with it all day. In fact, I did. I wrote some letters with it, and that's one of the things that helped me. Like, I would notice whether I was just so into the ink that, you know, was I just over it after I wrote a page in a letter, or was I going into my other pens? Well, this was one of the ones I really wanted to keep writing with. And I did make a note that they have reasonable shipping and everything, so ordering from there would be possible, you know. And I'm really not making that note for myself, because you could see I've got red inks and I need to use them up, and you know, but it's just gorgeous. It doesn't have water resistance, but it's beautiful, and the little splatter was really nice. It showed that deepness that it has in it, and there's the chromatography. After a while, I kind of got a little bit of a pattern, but I was just trying really hard to avoid bleed back through where I do the water tests, so it still was a little shaky at first this month. Okay, or you know, these 10 days. Okay, so then next was Diamine Monaco Red. Let's see. And from the tile, I thought this was going to be a little bit different. Keep in mind, you're going to need a sample. We've got cameras and lighting, and each of our devices is different, so it's going to be a little difficult to get exact color here. But I thought it was going to be quite a bit darker coming out of the nib, and it was great. It flowed really well. It's wonderful. This was from the sample from Pen Friend MA, and it is available at Venice and several other places, but these were the ones that I wrote down for myself for my own reference in the future. No water resistance, but it had shading and great flow. It looks different in the nib than it does in the ink tile. Well, that happens a lot, but this was just one of those cases where it really surprised me. I wish I could get it just right. It's a kind of a deep maroon on here, but it definitely comes out through the nib almost rusty, but I don't know how to explain it really. It has that sort of I don't know, it just, out of this nib anyway, on this paper, and Tomoe River paper does kind of act differently than some other papers. But this is my preferred paper, so that's the one I'm using. Okay. Okay, next was, oh my goodness, that's the one I have the little bitty, well, not little bitty, it's a 15 ml little bottle. So that I'm so excited about, because I went wild for this one, and I think it's, oh, I got these out of order somehow. Oh dear, I thought I was so organized. Colorverse Red Shift. Oh, I thought I had the tile right here. Wow, that just never fails. Anyway, it just is so vibrant, and the flow is so good. I just went crazy. And this little, I said sample, but it's a large sample, it's a bottle, was from Pen Friend KS. And I found that available at Venice also. It came with 65 plus a 15 ml for $30. It's vibrant, it's a rich color, it flows really great. It made quite a splash in the ink splatters there, I thought. It's got some kind of a almost gold sheen. Yeah, let's see if we can capture that. I think we have some natural light, but oh my goodness, I'm just all over the place. I think that the lesson here really is that grab your samples and go for it, because this is such a fun activity that it just has stabilized. It's given me an anchor every morning and throughout the day, depending on how much writing I was doing. And with this one, I just wanted to write with it all day. I didn't want to clean the pen. But you know me, it's got to be saturated and dark enough to really have great readability. And this one did. Oh, it says I'm not going to want to clean this out of my pen. Yeah, no, I didn't want to, but I did. Because, you know, I'm committed to the project kind of thing. I just can't believe that that one is not here. See, I went through, I thought I had them all. In fact, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, no, there's only 9. Well, I must have pulled that out and done something with it. Okay, let's move on. We'll never get through the video. Okay, next was Monteverde Love Red, and that is here. And this one also kind of was a little more intense on the tile than it was coming out of the nib, which is just, I mean, it almost changes to orange when, almost when you see it coming out of the nib. And that really interests me. But look at that unique chromatography, pink, yellow, orange. I mean, it's just amazing. Of course, the name is Love Red, but still, and it looks quite red when you see it all laid down on the tile. I found it was available. Oh, this was from Pen Friend KS, the sample. I think I had a small sample of that. And it's from the Emotions series. First impressions, this is awesome, very warm. Yes, it is. It's very warm, kind of a glowy, it gives you a happy feeling. It doesn't have water resistance. It glows with a warm orange tone, I said. I really like it. You know, I read somewhere that we all see ink differently too, so as if there wasn't enough reason to have a sample of everything because of screens and lighting and devices and camera, what the camera does. There's that additional layer that they say we all see color differently. Now, I know my mother does because she'll say, oh, I just love that pink, whatever that you sent. And I was like, it was orange. I thought it was orange. Okay. But so we have that to deal with as well. Let's see. I said a complex ink. Yeah, I kind of felt that way just by the way its face can change. And I guess love can do that too. So we've got all this complexity. And then in the splatter, it kind of almost looked like canyon rust in the splatter. I felt like. So, but it was a very enjoyable one to write with. Very nice. Okay, so then next was one that I already knew I loved. And so it may be cheating, but I wanted to revisit it because it was part of one of my 30 Inks, 30 Days series. And so I only had a day with it then too. So I wanted to give myself another day. And this is just gorgeous. It's pinkish. You know, I don't even know how to define it, but it looks more pink on the tile than it does coming out of the nib. Coming out of the nib, it kind of deepened and really looks pretty. This sample was from Pen Friend BH, and it was available, I saw, at Dromgool's at the moment that I was checking anyway, 50 mil for $28. It was the 2019 Ink of the Year from Pelikan, and I did already review this one, so at the end of the video on the end part, I'll go ahead and link it for you. There's tons of shading in this ink, and it goes from this super intense, deep, almost magenta to pink, and it's just gorgeous. I don't even know how to describe it. There's no water resistance that I could see, to speak of anyway. The flow was good, and the shading is excellent. Now, I said good on the flow. I thought that it was quite a bit wetter, but it's, you know, it was really good though. Oh, and then I wrote, I wonder if it's just me or if this is a little dry. Well, we have to keep in mind the specific pen that I'm using and the paper and all of those little details. Again, the pen is the Lamy Vista with the broad Lamy nib in it. So they're all getting the same treatment. All on the same paper, all the same exact tests, and I try to do it in the same way. Okay, we actually had company, so I think I was talking about Pelikan Edelstein Star Ruby and just saying how much I really love the ink. It's really, really pretty, and especially the color. You know, I did feel like it might be a little bit dry, but not really, just enough to make me take notice, you know. So I think it's time to move on here. The next one really surprised me as far as how the color came out, and it might surprise you too. Monteverde Passion Burgundy. Okay, on the card it's pretty deep. The camera does brighten it up some, so that's something to keep in mind. It's from the Emotions series, and I got the sample from Pen Friend KS. I found it available at Venice. $13.50 for a 90 mil. That's a good price. 30 mil, $9. You know, so on. There was even samples of that available. I said it was a nice ink, but a bit dark for me. So I guess I was expecting something different from it, and that's ridiculous, right? But Monteverde inks have great flow, and this one was no exception. It had no water resistance. It had some gold sheen. Actually, it's very, very dark. I'm not sure if you could even consider that gold sheen. It might be something, it might be more of a, wow, it's really unique. That splatter there was something else. I love that. I said on this Tomoe River 68 GSM paper that the ink looks almost rust brown. And yeah, it does. It just surprised me, that's all. You get to see the color more when you add the water and it draws it out. And the chromatography was pretty simple too. It rose right up to the top. Didn't have any resistance. But, and the flow was great. So it was enjoyable to write with. It just wasn't the color that would press all the buttons for me. And then I did not think I was going to like the next ink. This is Diamine Communication Breakdown. And I had a preconception that it might have too much sheen and that I wouldn't like it. That couldn't have been further from the truth. I ended up loving this ink and thinking, oh my goodness, that's a case where I just formed this opinion without even writing with it. So this is a Germany exclusive Diamine ink, and the sample came from Pen Friend MW. And the availability, I didn't look too hard because I'm so afraid of spending more pen allowance on another red ink, but I'm sure you could find it. I put try Amazon with 2 question marks. So the availability just doesn't pop up the way it does with some of these other inks. But I said I really like this ink. It goes on bright red and dries a deeper maroon. It's hard to show, but it did have the beautiful shading that sort of was the play between the base color and the sheen, and that sheen is just spectacular. I'm hoping we can show it. It might be a little hard to show. I think, end up with a pretty good picture for Instagram of this, although I don't remember. I just do the best I can to get additional shots if I can of the splatters, because they're just so much fun. I need better research to find a 30 ml bottle. Yeah, so yeah, I needed a hole in the head, but that's the kind of notes I make for myself. The flow was very good. In fact, it surprised me how good it was. The sheen, I put greenish gold. Okay, that was my thing. I kept saying, is this green or is this gold? Well, that's no wonder. It's just very unique. And definitely, I see it as shading what it's doing. Let's see if we can get that up closer. If you could see that, I'm not sure. It just seems to go between that base red or maroon and that greenish gold shading, which is just so unique. I can see why people are really wild about it. I think it's great. And then there's the water test in the chromatography. So next up is Diamine Red Dragon, another Diamine ink that really, really surprised me. I knew there was one of these I didn't like, and I'm pretty sure that the one I didn't like that was a Diamine with a unique color was, oh darn, it had oxblood, I think is the one I don't like. But anyway, when I inked this up and started writing with it, what a joy. There was only one thing about it I didn't like, which was I thought it might take forever and a year and a half to dry, because I did get this smearing here after like 3 or 4 hours. So anyway, but that was splattered on heavily. This was the other one that I have the little bottle of, and this bottle was from Pen Friend NR. Thank you very much, of course, to all of the pen friends who sent samples and inks. I found it available at Venice, 30 mil for $7.50, or the 80 mil. I'm not sure if that's right. It's a larger bottle, so I may be mixing up my bottle sizes. You'll have to not count on me for that, because that could be a mistake. If it is, I'll try to correct it. So I put, this ink was highly recommended for its flow. Many red inks create hard starts. Yes, that's something that I had encountered already. And this one was recommended for that one of the pens I was having trouble with, the Diplomat Magnum, and it did work really good in that pen and other pens. So I've had a little experience with this one too, because of having the 30 ml bottle to play with. No water resistance. The flow was excellent. The shading, I set a little bit in this nib, not much sheen. Although yeah, I could see some in the splatter, just not as dramatic. I guess after the Diamine Communication Breakdown, you can't really compete with that. But this has interesting chromatography, kind of lightened to a, let me hold that up. It's almost pink down here, and then it goes into yellow and on into a darker maroon. I said it seems well behaved, but it's slow to dry on the Tomoe River paper. Yeah, well, that's not fair, because I splashed that on there. But I still felt like maybe you'd have to be a little careful how long you let it sit there. You know, or maybe use some blotting paper. Okay, next was the one in this batch that I wanted to like, and I thought I was going to love it, Rohrer Klingner Morinda, but it's a little too light for me coming out of my nib. And this was also from Pen Friend KS. I found it available at Venice for $11.95 for a 50 mil and a 4 mil sample for $2.50. But I'm surprised it was coming out lighter. I even, you know, I did stuff to the pen to make sure that I had saturated the feed enough. And, you know, of course I did when I filled it and everything. I had fully saturated it. And so it just, it's gorgeous. It's lovely. But for me, you know, that thing I have about it being kind of intense, either bright or dark, and you know, it's just how I am. It's just personal preference. Yeah, that chromatography also has a lot of pink, even more pink down in the bottom, and a little bit of orange, kind of. It's really pretty. The splatters are amazing. I'm kind of wondering if we might have had a little foolery coming through from that Troublemaker ink, because I don't think I remember seeing that before. So these are the more accurate splatters, I think. I think we may actually have had a little moisture come all the way through the 3 layers, because this is, well, this is 52 GSM, the top piece that I splattered on, and then 68 GSM Tomoe River, and then on the back, oh no, it's not 3 layers, it's only 2. That's why that happened, I'm sure. But it's pretty anyway. So I didn't like totally dislike this. I just knew that it wouldn't be one I'd reach for all the time to write with because of it being lighter. But that's the purpose of a sample, and I think that was a real small sample, so that's really good. Okay, so last but not least was the super fun Troublemaker Inks. I should ask Manuel how to pronounce this, or somebody. Escolta Street. Okay, you can see there's a little bit of water resistance even in the tile. And hopefully you can see there's kind of a gold sheen that kind of forms over the top there. So that, I guess it's a pink. I don't know how it ended up in my reds, but it did. And definitely pink here, where I did the water test. You can still see some of the dots, and you can see the lines from the grid that I had drawn. And there's the chromatography. So this was really fun to write with. Excuse me. Right now they're not taking orders, but they do have a note on their website. This is a website company, a couple of guys from the Philippines, and it's really gotten a lot of interest, blown up on Instagram. They're real popular. So let's see if we can see that gold sheen a little bit better in the splatter. It's just gorgeous. And it's got such a range. It's all over the place, really. It goes from a bright pinky like this to more of a red, and the gold sheen is on there. So that was really fun to write with. So I've got the rest of the day. I've got it still loaded in my pen, and I'm going to enjoy that. Really nice. Oh, that came from Ink Journal in one of their ink flights. That's one of the best things about them, is that you can try inks from all over, and so that was just 2 ml, so there's not much left in the little vial, I'm sure, but I will enjoy it for the rest of the day. It's water resistance a little bit. You can see it in the tile and the water test. Yeah, you can see it. Don't know, what it would be worth to you in recovering letters, if they got really wet, but so I loved it. So I always kind of ask myself, did I have a favorite? And this is really hard. Let's get the little overall chart and see, because like just right off the top of my head, I know I really, really loved it day one, the Pure Pens Cadwaladr. I loved Colorverse Redshift. Star Ruby, I just love the color. I'm not sure I like how it comes out of my nib as well as some of these others, but that color. And then Communication Breakdown was just so much fun, and then Red Dragon was nice, and let's see, what did we say? Because I get mixed up sometimes. Yesterday I got really royally mixed up on the phone with Dromgools, and we were discussing a replacement ink, and I was talking about Martian, Colorverse Martian, which is orange, but I was mixing it up in my mind. Anyway, the one that we were actually talking about was a red ink, and they were right, and I wasn't trying to be right. I just was so confused when I got off the phone. I looked it up and realized I was thinking of the wrong Colorverse ink, but because they have these little mini bottles now. That's a story for another day. So yeah, the Red Dragon was also super nice and saturated and fun to write with. Oh, that would really be hard to pick a favorite. And then for today, this one, the Troublemaker Inks, it's so out of my wheelhouse. I don't think I would normally even like pick a sample like this, but it just shows you sometimes in the ink flights you get something really good. So if I had to pick a favorite, I guess it would have to be that Colorverse Redshift. I don't know. It's between that and the Diamine Communication Breakdown. Those two are just so wonderful. Let's see. Let's go back to that if I can. There's the Redshift. Such a happy, bright, deep color. Just gorgeous. And then, well, let's look at Diamine Communication Breakdown again. Oh, boy. Yeah, when I look at them right on the face like that, it would have to be Redshift. So, yeah, I stick by that. If I had to pick one out of these 10, it would be the Colorverse Redshift. I really love that. So that's fortunate for me because I've got a lot of that in that 15 ml bottle, and I love it. So that is the video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're on Instagram, you can see these anyway. But I also like to do the video for anybody who doesn't watch Instagram, and it was way overdue time for me to do a video. I've been doing a lot of reading, studying, and resting lately, so that break I think did me a little good, and I'm ready to get involved with my projects. When I started the video and I was talking face to face, you probably saw these. They're empty. They came in yesterday. I got them with channel money. There are 4 new ones, so that gives me 12. And today, that's going to be my main project, is reorganizing those. And I have to get off the video because I may not have file space once I get my editing done. So I'm going to let you go now, but let me know which one of these 10 you liked the best, and have a great inky day. Bye for now.